Hi guys, Simon from Milwaukee Motors. This is the second video in my minor restoration of my 600 SEL. In this video I'm going to run you through the parts I've bought. Just before I do that, I'm just going to show you a tip of what I do to remember where all the bolts go. So this is an outline of the valve covers. I've drawn it on a piece of card, circular card I had laying around. And basically all the clips, fittings, bolts are all slightly different sizes. So I drew out the shape of the rocker valve covers and I put them on the card so I know which one goes where when I put it back together. I did the same for the upper timing covers. You see this box here. I just put them in because they are slightly different lengths, slightly different style of fittings, so it just helps me remember where things are going. Anyway, on to the parts. So one of the things I did change, which probably didn't need changing, was the crank oil seal, crank pulley oil seal, and I got the genuine part. I made this tool to take the pulley off, but it's just a case of while everything's off the front of the engine, you may as well change it because at least you know it's gonna be fine for another 30 years. So that seal cost me about £12. Made a small tool to get it off because it's pretty tight in there to get a pulley in there. And yeah, I'm going to change that when I start rebuilding the engine up. So these are the upper timing chain covers or upper timing covers, and in my next video I'll show you where I fit those. When I clean them, I always use Loctite 7200 because if you use a metal tool, a scraper, a craft knife, you can scratch it and it can cause you problems. Or if you use sandpaper, it can round the edges slightly. So I only use Loctite gasket cleaner and let it soak, and normally just with your fingernail and a soft cloth you can get most of it off anyway. So that's that. This is a seal that goes, there's a bridge across the left and the right bank on the engine, and this seal goes between. This is another problem area which I'll go into when I do the oil leak video, but this is essential to change when you when you attack the oil leak problem. The water pump was not very good, so the bearing had gone, so I've got a new water pump to go on. On these cars, on the M120, the thermostat is integral with the thermostat housing, so I've got a new one of those. Also got some pulleys, various pulleys that were a little bit noisy, gaskets for the throttle bodies. This is the drive belt or auxiliary belt. On this particular model there's an air pump, so it's 8 grooves and 2,585 millimeters long. The ones without the air pump are 2,523, I believe. But this belt, although I bought it officially from Mercedes, it's a Continental belt, or Contitech. So it's made by Continental, so you can just get it direct from Continental for about half the price. I tend to buy Mercedes antifreeze and Mercedes powered steering fluid because if you get it discounted on the internet, it's just the same price as the non-standard stuff. So then it comes on to the ignition. So I bought 2 new distributor caps and rotor arms, all Bosch, genuine Mercedes spark plugs. I did want to get a set of Bosch spark plug leads, but I couldn't source any. So I bought these from a company, it's called BBT Germany, and they're German made and they look good quality. They were still about £220 for the set because you've got these long fittings on the end and there's 12 of them. One of the problems you'll find with this car is because there's 12 cylinders, you know, if you have to buy a new injector, they're £100. Well, 12 of them will be £1,200, so it can become quite expensive. Anyway, oil filters, obviously. Now, this is the inlet manifold. I had this painted. I sanded it down. I wouldn't have it powder coated or bead blasted, but I painted this in a paint called DTM, direct to metal, and I did the valve covers as well. And it's just the originals were just yellow in, and it just spoilt the look of the engine bay. I think with the there's lots of covers on that engine, and the only thing that really shows is this inlet manifold. So I just tidied it up without making it look too blingy, just a sort of standard colour, but nice and crisp and clean. Obviously you mask everything very carefully and prepare it very well, and you get a nice finish. Right, the injectors, this car, as I said on my previous video, has only done 57k miles. And injectors all look very well, but I use a company called Injector Tune. I sent the injectors off. They were about 1.38 deviation between the best and the worst, which is not a lot, which was as expected. But these guys, they put new pin tools, seals, washers. They return the old ones to you. They ultrasonically clean the injectors, rebuild them with new seals and pin tools, etc., and give you a report of before and after. So the injectors are all ready to go. So it was just, again, another reason where I thought I don't want to be pulling this apart because of a faulty injector in the near future. I want this rebuild to last at least 10 years. So here is the valve cover, and what I found with these, you get these clips here to hold the leads. The leads go up in a U, and there's a double clip that goes here. I haven't been able to get those from Mercedes or anywhere else. So what I'm going to do is make my own clips in the context of these holes are M8 and they're actually threaded. The clips just pop in there, but these are actually threaded. So I'm going to put a grub screw in there and then thread them with an M3 thread and then screw these clips down onto it. It's not important, but it just tidies it up. So yeah, these covers are nicely finished. And obviously I've got new gaskets for them to go on. One of the problems with the V12, they really didn't have a space for a decent reservoir for the powered steering. So you get this in front, in between the V's. This they tend to be empty because if you've got a slightly leaking system, there's not a lot of reservoir in there, and there's a reservoir on the pump. But what you find with these are very hard to change without stripping out the engine, as I've actually done. So these pipes, they weep from the inside. So I've got a new pipe to change those. While you're stripping the engine down, it's worth doing. I also painted the fan. The fan was alloy with anodization, which had gone a bit dull and flaky over the 28 years that the vehicle's been around. So I painted that in a dark grey DTM metal again. The viscous fan is fine, so that's going to stay there. This is the crank pulley. That's the old seal. It was fine, but I'm just going to put a new seal on and get that back together. Also, the last part, which I had no table space for, but this is a word of advice. Buy a set of gaskets. You can get a set of gaskets that do the whole top end of the engine, and it's about £180. Where if you buy these O-rings, they tend to be about £8 each. You need 12 of them. And then, if you buy the gaskets individually, this kit comes with head gaskets. I'm not changing the head gaskets. I'm not taking the heads off. So I'll keep them as spares. But a complete head set will give you the valve covers and the timing chain seal, cam seals, etc. So that's all the parts. And I'll do some videos and show the progress of me getting this all back together.